Hello, everybody, and welcome to another video. My name's Marcy from wavesofcommunication.com, and today I'm going to be talking about motivation. We're going to be talking about how to get your child motivated to want to try to improve their speech and language skills. So, if this is the first time you're watching me, welcome. And those of you who are joining me again, welcome back. Today I am live, and if you are joining me live and you have a question for me about your late talker, go ahead and put it in the comments. I do have some tips to help you get your child motivated to talk, and then at the end I actually did bring a question to answer about older late talkers who are stuck in prompt dependence. So I'll talk a little bit about that and at the end. So what we're going to start with is these factors that are going to help you get your child more motivated to try on their own to improve their speech and language. If you have a child who is late talking, or maybe who is talking and they're having trouble with articulation issues, maybe you can't understand the words that they're saying. This is ineffective speech that is going to cause problems for your child in their communication, either with you or with other people, because they can't be understood. If they can't use spoken language at a level where other people, strangers even, can readily understand them, then they need to improve if they want to use language functionally, if you want them to be talkers and use their language the most effectively they can. So, what's going to be important for you is to motivate your child to try hard to improve their speech, because speech and language is one of those things that you can't pull out at your whim. You can't program a child like they are a robot or a computer and have the speech that you want come out. Humans aren't like that. You wouldn't like it if everyone else told you what to say and programmed in, and you were only allowed or permitted to say the words that other people expected you to say. We're given language by God to communicate all of our ideas with the world. And for every parent who is interested in equipping and empowering your child to use their own spoken language to share their own ideas with everyone, you have to motivate them to want to try to improve those skills, because you can't pull it out, and without them trying, they'll never develop. It's like, I think I should learn to ride a bicycle. It would help me learn to ride a bicycle. But unless I'm motivated to get on a bicycle and actually learn how to use it, I'm not going to do it. And that's what happens so often with parents who have children with speech and language issues. The parents decide there's a problem. My kid's not talking the way they should be. I know their speech should be better. I compare them to other children, either my children or other people's children. Professionals do that. They compare your kid to other kids, and they know that your child isn't communicating as well as other people do. So there should be some way for your child to improve their speech so they can communicate as well as other people do, at least as well as other people do, and certainly at their own best. So, how do you get a child motivated who is already using a lot of nonverbal communication or limited verbal or speech that sounds speech sounds used the wrong way? How does a parent get a child to motivate to want to change from whatever they are using now? Because they definitely are using something right now on their own that they choose to use to communicate. You're watching this video because you don't like what you see or hear. Okay. So it's you that decides there has to be a change, not your child. That's what happens. You're very highly motivated to see a different outcome, but maybe your child isn't so motivated. So here's some tricks to help you get them on the same page, because it's necessary for your child to be on the same page as you if you're going to be facilitating their improved speech and language. So here's how you do it. Number one, you always work with your child to help them understand the fundamental problem. Not, you can't say the S sound, you can't, you're talking too fast, you blah, 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 blah. Those little things that are wrong, that they got incorrect on the test or they're doing wrong, that's causing their speech to be poorly understood by others. Yeah, they're doing it wrong. That's why their speech is coming out hard to understand or not at all, right? How do you get that going? You remind your child of the problem. And the problem is not that your child can't talk, but the problem is other people. Other people can't understand them. And that's, someone else's problem. Oh, they can't understand you. Maybe they should try harder to understand you. And the reality is, most people do try to understand nonverbal kids, but little kids don't try hard to extend that try to help that person understand. In fact, when adults get in the mindset of, I need to communicate for my child because they can't understand or use their language or whatever, whenever you are in the mindset of, my child can't, so I have to do it for them, you are enabling your child. You're not equipping them to learn how to get it over. The more you talk about their problems with someone else, you're enabling them to continue to have those problems. My kid has autism. My kid is nonverbal. My kid can't say the yes sound. My child tries to talk, but I can't understand them. Think about what you are saying. That is your problem. That's your problem. That's not your child's problem. That is the problem that you observe. So what you have to do is you have to make this problem your child's. You have to help them understand that, in fact, what they're doing, the status quo, is not as good as it could be, not because you want to see it better, well, which of course you do, but because it will behoove the child. It will make their life a lot better if they try hard to make themselves, they take the responsibility to try hard to let other people understand them. Because while mom can understand you when you look sideways or say a bunch of jargon and dance in one place, and your mom knows that that means that you have to go to the bathroom, or that you look sideways and point to the cabinet and your mom knows it's time for your vitamin shake or whatever. I mean, those kinds of communications, they work for kids in your house, but they don't work for anyone besides you. And this is a problem. And this is your child's real problem, because if you just keep assuming and responding to those kinds of guessing what your child wants, responding to those looks and dances and just respond to their needs like that, they will assume that those kinds of nonverbal behaviors and all of those things work to get them what they need. And they will use those same patterns with other people. But when you are at home and when your child dances because they have to go to the bathroom, and that means they've got to go, in the moment, you have to provide the language they need. You have to go to the bathroom. Instead of just responding, you have to teach your child the language they need, especially for things that they are going to want to need to tell other people. So if your child's going to a school or going to a therapy or going to somewhere else, you have to let them know, your teacher doesn't understand when you dance, it means you need to go to the bathroom. So the first thing you're going to do to help your child is teach them the language for that nonverbal communication. And that's going to motivate them to be other place. But to motivate them to want to shift is to remind them that when they have to go potty elsewhere, they have to use their words, because Mrs. Teacher doesn't understand their dancey language. Mrs. Teacher is waiting for kids to say, I go potty, let's go potty, I gotta go now, please, go potty, whatever you're modeling for your child at the time that you're taking them, instead of, oh, he has to go to the potty, go. You're teaching them that stuff, but you remind them when they are in the moment while you're taking them to the potty. When you're at school, you're going to have to say, potty now, potty teacher, I gotta go. Whatever phrase you are facilitating to mean that dancy behavior, show your child that when you're out, they have to use it too. And then you'll motivate them to want to use their words because it's really important to let people know you have to go to the bathroom, especially any need. If your child is communicating their needs by banging on the cabinet, you have to remind them, teacher doesn't know that means you want juice. She wants to hear you say, juice, please. And you don't make your child say and practice and do all of that stuff. Just educate your child while you are providing for their needs and saying their needs out loud and reminding them when you give them, if there ever is going to be a time someone else is going to be meeting that need, make sure you tell grandma. Same thing when you go leave your child somewhere after you've had this prep about the bathroom, you say it right in front of your child to the other person. Joey is going to tell you using his words, go potty now, or I gotta go, or whatever. He knows how to say those words. He understands those words to let you know that means potty. Joey is trying to talk. Joey's using his words. He's learning how to use his mouth to say things instead of his body. Say it out loud to other people, because while you work on those concepts with your child, you're going to talk to your child about how they're going to use them later, and specifically with who. When you go to grandma's house, when daddy brings you to the bathroom, make sure you're saying go potty with daddy, or if your brother or whoever, whoever they're going to be in that same situation with in the future. When you want to eat at grandma's house, you make sure you're telling grandma, it's time to eat. I want to eat my gummy bears. It's snack time. Whatever words or phrases that will help your child succeed to get their needs met. They're going to be highly motivated to learn those words. When you go over here, if you need a drink, you got to say this. They're listening for those words from you. These are the words you need to say. You're providing your child with the words they need as tools. That's how you equip your child to communicate on their own. And they're going to try. Okay, they're going to try to do whatever they're going to do in their nonverbal communication. And later, when your child is with you, and even after you have talked through these situations, when you want this, you tell me that. And when you want this, you tell me this. And when you go through those things later on in your house, your child is going to come back again and bang on the cabinet. And you're going to say, you're using that behavior again to tell me you want something, but I don't understand exactly what you want. Show me exactly what you want. And so when you tell your child that their little show, the bang on the cabinet, that's not quite enough. Now, you're not going to make them talk. You're not going to make them say or explain what they want, but you are going to encourage them to try a little harder with their nonverbal communication. I don't understand what you want in the cabinet. I don't know what you want there. Help me understand. Show me. Just tell them, show you. Because when they show you exactly, then you say, now I know exactly what you want. You want to eat this gummy bear, or you want the purple cup, or you want only one banana, or you want the banana cut in slices, or you want, because they're showing you nonverbally how to do these things. Very specifics in your house with your late talker. They'll show you exactly how they want you to prepare their food even. And if your child's a late talker, if your child is a late talker, then they're just gonna want to know that you understand exactly how they want what they want. And they're using nonverbal communication to do that. So you remind them, if you want grandma to cut your banana in little pieces, or only peel it, or let you peel it yourself, or however they are insisting, the manner in which they are insisting on receiving their goodies, you got to remind them that they have to communicate this with everybody else because grandma's not going to know how to cut your banana. So it's more than just what they're asking for, it's how they want it, because late talkers use nonverbal communication for everything, not just pointing to the things that they want. They tell you their satisfaction or dissatisfaction with something. They'll tell you if they want more or they want you to stop. All of those things happen non-verbally with tantrums, with facial expressions, and with in a combination with words. You might get that you can't really understand the words at all. There's a bunch of jargon, but you clearly can see non-verbally how your child behaves. A lot of times that's what they're looking at with you. If your child is a late talker, especially a very young one, they quickly learn the difference between your mad face and your excited face and your serious face and your kind face. They learn your facial expression and the tone of your voice before they learn the words. So when you are trying to interpret all of this nonverbal communication into speech, as we do in language facilitation, really what's really motivating for kids is when you talk about the words that they are thinking, not the obvious. So let's use an example of reading a book together. If you're reading a book, a simple book where there's a boy playing soccer, okay, football. He's the boy, page 1, he gets a new football for his birthday. Page 2, his goes outside with his dad. Page 3, they start kicking the ball together. Page 4, he gets a goal, right? Little story like that. Even a little story like that you can make up about the things that you do in your day. And that's really super highly motivating. That's another tip. But when you are talking to your child, this is what's going to highly motivate them to want to imitate and say what you're saying, especially even in the moment, is when you get excited about whatever you're looking at together from your child's perspective, and you say the things that they are thinking, not the obvious things you see, but the underlying, like I said, opinions or feelings about it. Whenever you can tie feelings to language, kids are highly motivated to share their feelings. So they'll be highly motivated to talk, more motivated to talk when feelings are involved. So when you look at the picture of the boy getting the birthday present and opening the present and getting a soccer ball, you don't talk about, look, it's the boy's birthday. Boy opened the present. Boy got a soccer ball. Boy is happy, right? Those are the sentences that you would say that would model the events of what you see in that picture, right? And then to turn it up and get your child highly motivated, before you start saying the boy is, you give a reaction. Wow, look at that. So I haven't even said anything. It could be a picture of anything. But I highly motivated my child to look at it, not by saying, let's get a book out and open to page 1. Let's get a book out and see what this book's about. What adventures are in this book? What is the story that's going to delight us in this book? That's what you're thinking about. Because if you present anything without delight or interest or fun or whatever, then you're just wah, 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 wah. And kids aren't motivated to listen to that. But they are motivated to listen to things when they're fun. If it isn't fun, it isn't fun. So you make your story reading fun from the beginning. Even if you're just going to read the words in the story, you want to add the fun to the before and afters and durings. Wow, look at this. It's a birthday party. I love birthday parties. He has a present. He's going to open the present. Let's see. The boy got a soccer ball for his birthday. Oh, he got a soccer ball. It's so fun, right? This kind of reading, this kind of excitement you need to bring, and it has to be the right time. If your child doesn't care about soccer, then that's going to be the wrong time to get excited because it seems artificial. It has to seem natural. You have to match with your child's emotions because it's their emotions that are going to help the speech come and help them try. Okay, so it's super, super important that you try really hard with your child to get them to want to listen to you reading and talking to them and getting excited about, because the more language that gets in there, the more you are equipping their system, their language and auditory processing systems, with useful language that they can grab later when they're excited about seeing a kid play soccer. They can pull up that same, oh, wow, look at that, because that's going to pop out a lot faster and more natural than the boy is kicking a ball. Okay? So, this tip is to use the language that your child would use. Kid like, age appropriate language, incomplete sentences, of course, because you want to use it functionally. You want to show your child how to use those words. If you just say the same word, soccer, 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 football, 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 kick, 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 ball, 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 boy, 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 they're not going to understand how to use it all together. But look at the boy, you can use a million different times. Look at the boy. He is kicking. He is jumping. He is playing football. He has a black and white soccer ball. He has a yellow and green soccer ball. There are many, many things that you can go from, hey, look at that boy. But saying that up front is going to get your child interested and thinking about, these are words I want to hear that I can use later. So it's going to get your child more motivated to try to use language when they hear more. All right, now let's get into some of these challenging situations. Like if your child knows their articulation is bad and they are struggling. So that happens with young kids and old kids. Some kids get bad articulation because they had hearing issues and they didn't hear language properly. And then they got off to bad starts and got into bad habits. Some kids develop processes, the whole way they talk. They leave off the front parts of words or last parts of words or syllables in words. Some of them can't say particular sounds like the G or Ks. They always say them in the front, T or D instead of G or K, or they don't say their M's and N's or whatever. Usually, there is a pattern behind the articulation problems that are causing the speech to be hard to understand. And when you identify the patterns, that's what therapists choose to work on in developing new patterns, repeated patterns. But oftentimes, that therapy is very boring and repetitive, because what a therapist, all they have in their time with a child is the therapy session. If you're online doing this articulation therapy, it's going to look like a therapist holding up picture cards or lists of words, or you might have them on your side, and just getting your child's mouth and brain to say the words over and over again. Sometimes they'll have you listen to how the word sounds correctly, and then another one, they call them minimal pairs. It's like car and cart. They'll hear those. This is a car with a picture of a car, and this is a cart with a picture of a cart, and you cue them to listen to the difference between car and cart, right? So they'll do these repetitive activities where you have to sit and look and imitate and do, but they're isolated. They're at the word level or phrase level. They're not functionally tied to your everyday life. Typically in a therapy session, it's impossible, because the therapist, if they're especially on a telesession, they're on the other end of the computer. They're not in your life doing an active job with you. They're on the other computer. If you're in a therapy session and you're taking your child to them, or the therapist is coming to your house and they're pulling them off to the side and playing toys with them, their toys that they prepare, it's just the same thing, only in person. They're trying to get your kid to say the same things because they only have a limited time. And in the therapist's world, we're charged to get the kid to say more correct speech, because I can write down, yesterday he only said the G sound in the beginning of words, 20% accuracy when we did 20 flashcards. And today he did it with 50% accuracy. And that's progress. And I can write that down on my progress sheet of my speech therapy lesson plan and submit that to the insurance company or my boss or the education or the IEP or even you as a parent, and say, look, speech therapy is helping. He didn't used to be able to say it, and now he can say it, 20% to 80% or something like that. That's usually how therapy works. But the problem is, it's not very motivating to children. And does it help kids say words better in the session? Yes. Does it eventually help kids get better in conversation? Only when the therapy evolves. So the therapist has to evolve their sessions. Once they get kid to 85% at words, then they move them to phrases, and then they get them 85% in phrases. And then after that, they move them to sentences, and then 85% in sentences, and then 85% in conversation. So you have to go through all that therapy of individual words, and this is the repeated stuff over and over and over again. As many times as you can, get the kid to say the word, phrase, or sentence in your session. And again, the motivation behind that is when the child says it enough times, eventually their brain will learn to say it correctly. That's what pretty much every evidence-based therapy method for articulation is founded by, except for the ones that work. And those are the therapists. And I used to work with one when I was working in a school who scheduled every one of her articulation students for 5-minute drill works every day, 5 days a week. So instead of doing a 30-minute session once a week where she would have to haul all the kids in, get them all to sit down in a group, play some kind of game, do some kind of whatever, she would have in these periods of time, the kids show up for 5 minutes, do some articulation. She would do drill during that period of time, but she found that everyday exposure to the articulation work, instead of just that one session on Tuesdays that might have been canceled if the teacher had a meeting or there was a field trip or whatever, and they'll get far less. They scheduled throughout the day. And whenever I worked with clients, this is what I do too. I motivate you to get your child to try to use better production during 1 or 2 or 3, depends on your time frame and your willingness to try at this throughout your day, to the point of where you work up to 2 to 3 hours in a day where you are facilitating that problem. If it is articulation, if it is language, if it is answering questions, if it is whatever you're facilitating as a goal for you for functional improvement. It's not, though, the goal from the IEP. It's not saying words 80% accuracy. You don't collect that kind of data at home. You don't have notepads and stuff carrying around to collect data. That's not how it works for parents. You pick a time. Storybook time, bath time, lunch time, riding in the car time, whatever, to equal 2 to 3 hours a day, where your mindset is going to be focused on this problem. And your child knows what the problem is, just like when you need to go potty, you need to tell them this way. When you need to talk this way, if you've been working on speech and saying the G sound or the whatever sound, talk to your child about that. The plan of the day, the focus of the day is the G sound. You start from the very beginning. Good morning. Good morning. We are practicing the G sound today. So we're gonna go and get our clothes on. Are you coming with me to get your clothes on? And right there, you start from the beginning, and you're just providing models and providing models and providing models. You don't expect your child to imitate you. You don't expect your child to stop and say guh. If they say, okay, let's go, mama, you don't correct them in the moment. You say, you're right, let's go. We're gonna go now. And if your child doesn't get it, you can get tips and tricks from your speech therapist to show your child how to use the different parts of their mouth and cue them so they learn how to produce it at least 1 or 2 times, the sound all by itself, drinking, that kind of thing. You work with your therapist to figure out how to give your child the experience of saying that noise, even by itself, even once, and then they know how it works. And then you just provide them with models. It's called auditory bombardment. You give them with as much G and K or front sound or back sound or syllables or blends or whatever you're facilitating. You just put it in your mouth, out of your mouth all the time, all the day, saying the thing. It's like the topic of conversation is the L sound or the K sound or whatever you're working on. Okay. And you just put it on there. And when you notice your child doing it, and then you want to offer them opportunities to practice, opportunities that they will choose. All right, this is our time now to work on it. we can work on this puzzle and talk about the G sound, but during this time, not just mom is going to focus on your sound, so are you. You're going to try your best to use it. Are you ready to try with me? So you tell your child, this is work time. You ready to work? If your child wants to work with you, then they'll buy in. If they say no, they don't want to work, they don't want to do this thing, they don't want to read the book, they don't want to do flashcards, they don't want to do whatever you want to do, then you have to say, okay, all right, because this whole opportunity that you have created is for the purpose of helping them correct their speech. If your child flat out refuses it, you're wasting your time. Because think about it. If I said, I want you to come to my cooking class to learn how to make, cherries Jubilee, and you're allergic to cherries, you're literally not going to pay attention. If I force you to sit there in the class, you'll be sitting there thinking about some other dessert, or how disgusting cherries are, or how you really shouldn't be here and you should be somewhere else because you could be contaminated in this environment. I mean, who knows? You're not going to be thinking about cherries Jubilee. You're not going to be learning from me in my cooking class for sure, right? You don't want to set your child up with a situation where they are avoiding you or not wanting to learn from you. You have to find things that are motivating. If it isn't fun, it isn't fun. What does your child love? So here is the best and most secret and most fabulous tip. In fact, my next live video, I'm going to be getting more in depth on it. And this is the biggest secret ever to motivate your child to improve their speech. Okay. Talking about their words and all of those things are super, helpful to motivate them to try hard. But here's the thing. You have to find their superpower. You have to find what they're good at. That is the secret to motivating your child, period. End of. Getting them to want to try hard because it will help them in the world and that other people like it. And then it makes you happy. Of course, you're going to give them lots of praise whenever they try hard, of course, to motivate them to keep trying. That's a no-brainer. Every parent says good job whenever they hear something good. You want to really motivate your child to try hard by incorporating their superpower, because they will try at their superpower without any coercion, without any reminder, without any thinking at all. So if your child's superpower is running or eating or music or banging on things or swinging or yelling, whatever your child is super good at, and you know what that superpower is. Like I said, my next video, I'm going to be doing a superpower analysis video where you're going to learn what your child's superpower is. But in a nutshell, you know what your child loves to do. You know what they're good at. You know what they'll do whatever time, no matter what. And it can't be the technology. It has to be something that they'll do off of technology. If your child will eat whenever you'll give them food, that's their superpower, is eating. A lot of parents don't have kids that eat all the time. If your child will run every time you say, come on, let's run, they want to run, running is a superpower. If they love riding in the car and looking out the window is where they're zen, it's where they're zone, because when a child is in their superpower, that's like Michael Jordan playing basketball, in the zone. Right? When you are in the zone with your child, when your child gets in their zone, their brain is working, their brain is thinking, and they have access to all of their information when they're in their zone. And if you can get in their zone with them by learning what their superpower is, letting them do their superpower their way, and getting them to invite you in, right, to where they are in their zone, you can talk about their superpower forever. It doesn't matter with language facilitation what the topic is, okay? Even if you're working on a language point or a speech point or stuttering or behavior or whatever, you can always teach around a superpower. Always, because your child's superpower both drives their motivation to do something, and it may drive their motivation to avoid something. For example, I'm going to give an example of my friend Ben, who is a 14-year-old boy with autism. He has a page called Maybe Autism is My Superpower. He's an author. He does videos. He had a radio show. He does all kinds of interviews and stuff. But his speech is not amazing. I mean, it is amazing, but it's not perfect. He's not completely conversational. He's definitely in his own world, and he has a hard time with back and forth exchange. He definitely knows how to communicate what he wants to communicate about, and he will even get into conversation if you get in his zone of topics. If you talk about normal stuff that other people want to talk about, what's going on in the world or how somebody was affected or even some drama on TV. He doesn't care. This kid loves what he loves. He loves transportation and he loves stores, grocery stores, and hospitals and big corporate buildings and how they function and things like that. He's interested in those kinds of topics. He also loves comedy shows and he writes comedy shows in his head. So when his mom started doing language facilitation with him, she just abandoned all of those things that her kiddo didn't like, the flashcards, the sheets, the lists, the repetitive stuff. And she also let him stim as much as he wants. She lets him self-talk as much as he wants. And she molds that and guides that by using his favorite topics, which for him are these transportation things. And she can just present it almost like a writing prompt, not a talking prompt where you said, "What do you like, Ben? Do you like airplanes? How do airplanes go in the sky?" Like, she doesn't need to use any of those prompts anymore because her kid's talking about how, this airline's too expensive and this airline has better in-house treats and, all of that. He cares about those things about these airlines, not just this one should be at this airport because it doesn't go to his hometown. I mean, he knows all that much about it. And maybe it's not your topic of conversation, and maybe it's not something that even all of his friends talk about. But as she is working with Ben to improve his conversational language, that's always where she goes. It's always where she goes. When his sister wanted to know what to do for Ben for his birthday to make him happy, his mom said, "Go talk about his stuff. Go talk about airplanes and whatever." Because so many times these kids are shut down on these topics because they do get obsessive about them. They love puzzle pieces or maps or buildings or whatever, If they find something that they get obsessive about to the point where they'll talk about it every time you talk about it, that's their superpower. And that's what you use because they're always motivated to do that activity. They'll never say no. They'll never say no to their superpower. Even if they're exhausted, they'll never say no to their superpower. They'll do their superpower to the point where they get sick, right? You as a mom need to use it. That's the whole thing. And then the very last tip is when your child tries, okay? And they do, because you're going to motivate them and they're going to try to do things and they're going to try to talk and it's going to come out wrong, I promise, because that's how it goes. That's how it goes. So what you do is you need to make sure when your child tries anything, you let them know exactly that they are trying. You let them know that they're working hard. You let them know that they're struggling. You even let them know that maybe that wasn't exactly correct. They know it's not exactly correct. You just feed it back the right way. So if your child tries and they say, "Ma," for mama, like it's the first time they're talking, right? And they're saying "ma" the first time, and you're like, so excited that your child said "mama." You want to be excited and say, "I'm so glad you're trying talking," not just "good job," not just good talking, not just good whatever. Good job saying that word. I heard you say "mama," and that made me happy. Talk about the whole event. And then I heard you saying "mama." You are saying "mama." It didn't come out that way, but that's what they intended to say, and you know it. It's true for all of their intention. Just like when they have to go to the bathroom and they're dancing, it doesn't come out, "I have to go to the bathroom right now," but that's what it means, okay? Just like "ma," that kind of "ma," right? That's how you know, I know you're sad and you want your mommy now. You want your mommy now, right now. You want your mommy now. You provide that language right then. And then you say, "I know you're trying," while you're hugging your child because they want you. "I know you're trying to talk. I'm so proud of you for trying so hard. I can't wait to hear more words when you're ready. When you're ready to talk, I'm here listening and I love to hear what you say." You have to tell your child that out loud every day. I know it's not something that we're usually used to telling our kids, especially if your kid has been late talking for a long time. This is your chance to get them on board, get them motivated to try hard with you. And this is how you do it. You tell them, I know you're trying. I love it when you try. I want to help you. And this is what we're doing. And this is how we talk. So this is wonderful way to get your child motivated. Just tell them what they do right because they want to make you happy. And when you tell them exactly what they do right, I love when you try so hard. I love when you get the last sound on the word. Isn't it wonderful when you sound great? Your speech sounds beautiful these days. You have been trying hard to get all of your sounds working right. Remind your child about trying by catching them in the act of trying and telling them exactly that you notice. I notice this. I notice you're trying and it makes me happy because nothing makes a kid happier than a happy mom. And when you're happy that your kid is trying and reminding them to try, that puts the mindset in their head. He can. He can do this. You can do this. I know if you keep trying, you're going to see improvement. You're going to see improvement. So let's see. We've had a little comments coming in now, and I do have a question. So Laura says, hey, Laura, it's always so good to see you. Laura's in UK. Where are you from? If you're watching me now, put in the comments while we're live. Where are you watching me from? I want to know where I'm getting to. So tell me about that. And let me know how old your child is, where you're watching from and how old your child is, even if you're watching on the replay, because it really helps me to know who's watching these videos so that I know more content to put out. Like I'm just getting into ideas, all kinds of ideas. So, and Laura says, Angela, who is Ben's mom, is an inspiration to me. I love watching her videos with Ben. So yeah, maybe Autism is My Superpower is his platform. He's got a fan page. He does amazing. And his mom has wonderful resources for kids who have autism, for parents of kids who have autism, how to deal with it as a parent. She's been doing, and Ben didn't start talking till after he was 7, by the way. And Angela taught him to talk. She canceled her ABA therapists. She only kept therapists who would do things her way. She took over the job and she started doing it. So there's Oleana from Massachusetts. Thank you for joining me. And Shawnee is from Baltimore. So you guys aren't far away from each other. And your son Jaden is 7. So Shawnee says, this is some great tips. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad that you're watching and getting tips because it's easy. The strategies are easy, everybody. It's the change that's hard. It's doing things a new way. And if you just decide, Shawnee, that you can encourage your kiddo to try a little harder. 7-year-old kids, they get really stuck in their own way of doing things. Like life works pretty well. And especially if in your history you have done a lot of controlling kinds of behaviors, that's where you can get into trouble with kids getting in their mindset where they're resistive. And then what happens is nothing you try is interesting at all, even if it is the most fun thing they do. And because you haven't been using their superpowers as a teacher, you know, at this stage, maybe moving forward, you might want to think about using those things they enjoy to get them back motivated to try to work from you. So let's see. Who else is joining me now? Monica. Monica's been working with me from the very beginning. In fact, I think you were probably one of my first paying lifetime coaching families. So, and Charlie's 6 now. Yeah, he was 3 when we first started. So that's fabulous. I'm so glad. And Monica's in Sweden. I know that. And Oleana has Zeke, who's 3. He has major improvement with receptive, but he's struggling with expressive speech. So Oleana, language facilitation. It's time for language facilitation. You got to get him listening better before he will start talking better. So, yep. And Sweden's right. Monica's in Sweden. So it is fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, if you're watching, I love to see the interaction on these videos. I do them to help you. I'm just here. I used to be a therapist going to people's houses. And when I sat on their living room floors, I gave them advices like this, just to help them make their time with their kids, just like you. You have all this time right now. We're in lockdown for most of the place. Schools are open or not, but even if your child has school, even if they're going to therapy, it's so limited compared to what you have as access as parents. And these little motivations to try at speech throughout your day, not just one sit down time in front of the screen or with your flashcards or at your table. You got to get little, Monica knows, you got to get little bits of training in all throughout your day so that you know your child's getting 2 to 3 hours of language facilitation every day. Because think about it, if your child's going to 6 hours at school, there's very little more than 2 to 3 hours of instruction going on. You can fit that into your life because you're with your kid 24/7. Okay. And that's how it works with all of this. Now, the question that I had from the mom that was over on Facebook, she has a 12-year-old. I've been getting a lot more of these parents who have kids that are 12 and they are talking. They maybe have been in some therapy for a while, very much like Ben. He started talking at 7. Finally, some words started popping out. And then when kids get the jive of getting their needs-based language down pat. They know enough language to use to make requesting their needs and wants easier. Remember, before they were verbal, they were non-verbal, banging on cabinets, dragging you around, screaming tantrums, and making you guess, right? So now what's great with kids who have language like this 12-year-old who have needs-based language and they're able to say, gimme, I want, more, no, that kind of thing. And your guessing gets less. It's a lot easier for a parent, but what it does is it gets kids stuck in that needs-based level because even though your child is maybe not relying on you to guess what they want and need anymore because they've developed language for that purpose, and that's always the first purpose that kids develop language in therapy. It's the easiest thing to teach them is how to use words functionally expressively to get what they want. So that's probably where Oleana is. With receptive language, they've been doing a lot of matching or what's this, because otherwise, how would you know he has good receptive language? So if you've been prompting your child to look and listen and label, non-verbally, this matching, that kind of stuff, give you the picture from a choice of 3 or whatever, that means that you're not teaching your child and you're not seeing expressive language. Like if you know your child understands, that means that you're asking a lot of questions still, because otherwise, how would you know? You're testing. It's the only way. Tests are full of questions. And so you know your child understands you because you're saying things to them, giving them things to do, maybe directions too. Follow this direction, 2-step directions. You might be even in your house doing things like, go get the blue shirt that's sitting on the bed to see if your child can understand those things. So Liana says true. That's what happens. That's how you know. I mean, the only way you would know your child understands language is because you're testing them. Now, the problem with when you see a child, just like this 12-year-old is the same situation with yours, Oleana, who is not is understanding, can go get the blue shirt off the bed and bring it and with no problem. But they're still not using spoken language for everything, or maybe they're using needs-based language. They are still relying on you for communication for everything else besides the needs-based stuff. So they will, like I said, if they're able, they'll start to direct you. Give me the blue shirts. Give me that. Because if you say go get, your child will use words go get. Or they might even say, if you say go get the shirt off the bed, and they do, they might say to you later, go get a cookie. Okay, because they're memorizing, they're listening to what you said when you said go get. And so they're going to use that same thing on you. Go get me a cookie. Or they say get a cookie instead of, because you're saying go get. So you have to think a lot about the models that you're giving to your child. And with the mom of the 12-year-old, they have heard so many models that they have learned parts of speech. Go get, I want, things like this. Yep, I give my son directions to see if he understands, and he does sometimes, right? So that's how you're testing. Hi, Deepti, good morning. And Oleana says prompting. It's true. That's what happens. When your child is prompted to do these things, all of those are prompts, and they're little mini tests all day long. All day long, just so you can feel better that your child is understanding stuff. And this is what I'm telling all of you. when you shift your energy from prompting and asking those questions and giving those directions to just getting your child to listen to you talk about the things that they want to talk about, then they will learn to use the language more fluidly. But right now, they're still in an exchange based situation. I tell you something in order to get something. And if I want you to understand how I feel, or that I am dissatisfied, or that I have a super opinion about something, those kids are probably still pulling out nonverbal communication, unless you taught them to say, I am happy, I am sad, I feel sad, I feel sad. Like they're going to say it while they're crying, because you can't help but cry when you're sad if you're a kid and you used to use that. And they might say, I feel sad while I'm sad, or start to use those language if you've been facilitating it. But if your child is using no language except for needs-based language, and then you get tantrums and dragging you around and nonverbal manipulation, trying to sneak out the house, trying to climb in cabinets and get stuff, because older kids, they give up tantrums because that's too exhausting. They use more specific manipulation. They wait till you leave the room, and they do weird, crazy STEM behaviors that are above and beyond what they usually do if you aren't paying attention to them to get attention. They know how to use nonverbal communication for everything else. And you are the ones stuck in this prompt dependence, because your child, you have taught your child by testing them all day long that the only time you want them to talk to you is when you prompt them. And so when they want to talk about their, what Ben was talking about, transportation, or the thing they're thinking about in their head that they remembered from yesterday, and they don't have language for it, they're going to use whatever they use. And you want them to know how to use language. So you got to get into those superpowers and talk about those superpowers and fill up their brain with the language they want to use. Just like you did when you taught them how to ask for what they want. You said, I want to hear the word cookie. And then when I hear the word cookie, one will come to you. And your child figured out, all I got to do is say cookie, and then one shows up. Done and dusted. And then you don't like it anymore, and you want to improve that and say something like, oh, now you have to say, I want cookie. And then you train your kid to say, I want cookie. And then pretty soon they learn, oh, now I want cookie isn't enough. They want, I want cookie. Okay, I really like cookie, so I'm going to say, I want cookie. And then they get into that for a while, and you're like, but I want cookies too robotic. What if we try can I have or may I have? That seems more natural. And your child's, oh, I want isn't anymore, but I really like cookies. So now today I have to say, can I have? All right, can I have a cookie? And you're like, wait a minute, how come this isn't turning into language? Right? If you're doing that, you're teaching that. If you're getting that, you're teaching that. If you're getting conversation, if you want to teach your kid how to have conversation about a cookie, you don't have the expectation of they only get the cookie when they say it. You can't make it dependent. A test, you only get the reward if you pass the test. You can't make it like that. You have to give them the information they need so that they have it to try. You have to model that for them. Model the language you want to hear, or you're never going to hear it. Remember, if you're asking questions or giving directions, you're going to hear a lot of questions and directions. If your child says, what is it? Probably at first, before they said dog or cat, they said, what is it? Because you said dog, 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 dog. And then you went and say dog, 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 dog. It's such a dog. Okay, we get it. This is the dog. What is it? 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 What are you even teaching your child? Are you teaching them what a dog is? You get them to say dog? They don't understand, because that's abstract. When you see a dog in your environment and you say, oh, first emotion, look at that dog. It's so cute. They know it's a dog. You've said dog a million times with the flashcard, but now they see one in real life that's super cute. And they're excited and they're motivated about the fact that it's super cute. So that's going to want them to get them to talk about it. It's a superpower. I like that. I like dogs. Let's talk about that. So that's what you get. So let's see. Everybody's getting this. Like I said, I'm not seeing any more directions. So questions. So I know that you're understanding that you have to make a shift. Now, if you're stuck in prompting and your child is stuck in prompt dependence because you taught them that, the way to get out of that is with the swapping the prompting challenge, okay? That's how you get out of that. But then remember, if you've taken the swapping the prompting challenge and you're watching this video and you're not seeing improvement and you're not seeing motivation from your child, that means that prompting has sneaked back in. That you still are testing, that you just want to know how much your child does, and you're not, maybe don't have exposure to a speech therapist, and they're not telling you, oh, he's making improvement and he's doing better this week. So you're trying to test yourself and see what's going on. Is he learning anything? And those tests feel good when your kids pass them, don't they? They feel great. When you ask your kid to follow a direction, your late talking kid, or a word pops out in response to a prompt, that's a little dopamine going in your head, right? It feels great. I know I'm working. I know what we're doing is working. I know what we're doing is helping. And that dopamine can be pretty addictive for parents. And it makes them want to sneak right back in and start prompting a little bit more. Oh, he knows all the language now. Let's go back to testing. And that's where you get in trouble. And that's why I have a lifetime program, because parents who even work with me for a little while, start in my starter program, they get their kids going, they get their kids talking. 6 months later, they're back. We are stuck again. Something happened. We moved, teacher, COVID, school shut down, had a new baby. Everything happens in your life. And then your focus goes away from the language facilitation for a minute. And then you realize, oh no, I haven't been language facilitating. Let's go back to it again. And what do you do at first? You start prompting. You test your kid to see how they go. And that's how you fall back into it. So this habit, the prompting habit, is the biggest habit that you will always be fighting to change, because it feels good to hear the answers to the tests. It feels good. And you want to have that more and more and more. You do. I know. Because it feels good. It feels terrible to prompt your child over and over and over again. I have a dad in my family. They're finally leaving ABA. I hope finally. They made the decision to finally give it up, because during COVID, dad was sitting in front of a camera where somebody was taking data while he said, get the ball, and his son didn't. He's like, if I have to one more time say, get the ball, and watch my child not follow that direction, I think I'll blow my brains out. You know what I mean? Because that's where a lot of people are. And that's where you're feeling, because your kid's not motivated to do that, because you're not even motivated to do that. Who would be? It's ridiculous, and it doesn't teach anybody anything. It just helps that ABA person make some money. Okay? So think about your therapies. If they're not motivating for you to do, to help your child to do, you have to understand why. Why are we doing this? And most of you, all of you who are watching me, have passed up those other therapies maybe once or twice, or you have some public things that you're going for, that you're using, that you may be using, whatever, but you have taken responsibility. And if you haven't, this is your opportunity, because I promise you, if your school is open today, that does not mean that any time in the next 6 months time or longer, it's going to shut down at one point or another, even for the Christmas holidays. If it went 100%, just because your child's going to a school does not mean that you shouldn't take 100 responsibility for their learning. If you're taking them to therapies, if you're taking them to whatever, it doesn't matter. Those people are teaching your child very little compared to what you can. And if you're smart and you're paying for those things, those services, you even pay to work with me, use those professionals to learn yourself and teach your child yourself. That's how you know you'll make improvement. And you'll know you're doing right because you're working with a professional. And I'm not saying don't work with a professional. I'm saying don't rely on them to teach your kid. You can't. You can't. They can't do what you can do. Not for this. Not for language. Now, other people can teach your kid algebra if you don't know algebra. That's what happened to me. I'm terrible at algebra. My kids got way farther in math in school than I ever did. And that was because they had teachers. But I had to prepare my children to learn. If they were doing online virtual school, I made sure they had the resources to be successful in that learning environment, or we found a new learning environment. My child had to leave high school midway through. It was too boring for her. We accelerated her into a college program. She graduated college 2 years early. There are options for every parent everywhere if you take advantage. It doesn't matter your finances. It doesn't matter anything. You don't need school. They teach your child very little, especially for a temporary period of time if your child is nonverbal. If you're concerned about whether to send your child to the school because of the vaccine, of the virus, or whatever, just learn how to teach them yourself at home and feel better about it, because the worry over the drama surrounding sending your kid to school. Do they wear a mask? Do they not? Are they going to wear it? Is anybody going to yell at my kid if they don't wear their mask? All of that stuff is getting in the way of learning. And unless you mask wearing, socially distancing, and something else is what you want the school to teach your child for you, because that's what they're going to be teaching for the first weeks they're there. Very little other learning is going on. I mean, the first 2 weeks of school, very little actual new skills go anyway, because parents are testing kids, teachers are testing kids, parents are trying to see what they can do, all of that. It's all different, right? And you have control. You have control now. And it won't help you to steamroll your child like a teacher or a therapist. You have to be a parent. And this motivation that I'm talking about comes from you being a parent and getting your child to work with you in your day as a mom or dad. That's it. When you learn how to figure that out, you can teach your child anything. Homeschool moms do it all the time. Homeschool moms use resources to learn to do it themselves, but they take 100% control. They drop their kid off at the lab. They take them to the social events. They go to look at the zoo. They download the curriculums and teach their kids themselves. Every mom can be a homeschool mom right now. Even if you work full time, even if you've got gifted kids, if you've got kids that have 150, excuse me, the behavior all over the place, then where is your priority? If you can get your child, if you can take a break and spend the time with your child to help them work on their behaviors so that they can get in the zone. You use these tools that I gave you on this video to get your kid motivated to learn from you. And work as part of a team in your household. Not just the kid everybody takes care of, but they get jobs, they get responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities is to try to improve their communication so that they can be communicating better in your family, with everyone in your family. If you have an extended family, all of them, online, with their teachers, with their therapists, with everyone. It's your job to help them facilitate that. And if you want to learn how, you can work with me. That's what I do. And you can keep following videos. You can watch on my YouTube channel. There's more than 300 videos here. So be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification bell, because I'm live every week on Mondays. You can come ask questions, join me, share where you're from, share your concerns, get more strategies about your child. And you can also work with me. You can read my book. Here's my book. I show it on every video. If it isn't fun, it isn't fun. Ooh, the green screen's going to affect it a little bit. Teach your child to talk faster than therapy. Faster than speech therapy. Look, the green screen's coming through. You see all their little eyeballs. That's funny. Anyway, thank goodness for green screen, because I get to change all these lives and show text and make things a little bit more nice for everybody to look at. I know I tend to ramble on, but that's how I go. I'm a talker, and I'm motivated. I'm really motivated to help you guys learn. I'm very passionate about this, and continuing to increase my learning to get broader in my maybe homeopathy skills and things like that. I'm really looking at reaching into the whys and the hows and how to functionally help kids start talking, because without meds, without any kind of other stuff going on, parents in my program are getting their kids talking without any other things. And those who are working with the right medical things, they're getting their kids beyond. I mean, incredible things are happening. You can, just like I said right here. You can. There is nothing to say that you can't teach your child. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter what's going on with their communication, what's going on with your family life, what's going on with the pandemic. It doesn't matter, because right now, today, parents watching this video, Laura included, are doing it. And so can you. And that's what I want to do. I want to help. So Laura says here, you're so right. Shawnee says right. This is what happened when we were in lockdown, right? My daughter learned and progressed so much more than she did in nursery. Now I homeschool full time. So that's wonderful. Congratulations, Laura. Congratulations to all of you parents who are seeing amazing improvement. I can't wait to see you on my next video where I'm going to be doing a superpower analysis. It's going to be all edited and everything, but it's going to be live over on Facebook. And if you want to see everyday tips and ideas, I'm very active on Facebook. I know that's where a lot of moms are. If you're not on Facebook, you can see in the description of this video how to follow me over there. And I have a free masterclass, 90-minute masterclass to get you started on your path, show you exactly how to use the resources that match with your financial, your time, your energy, because everybody's got different levels of resources. And that's why I have a wide variety of options to learn. It's my mission that every parent everywhere learns how to teach their child to talk. Just need to learn more languages so that I can share it around. So thanks again for sharing this video with your friends. Like it if you like it, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks again for joining me. Bye for now.